I didn't lose my job after my father's funeral. I lost my illusion. That love and power can ever share the same desk? The email was still open when I returned to my desk. White background, black letters, no hesitation in the font. We need people who prioritize their work. I read it twice, not because I didn't understand it, but because I wanted to memorize the exact moment my marriage ended, and my career was used as the weapon. My father had been buried 3 days earlier. I still smelled the earth on my hands. My suit was still hanging in the back seat of my car. She had approved the leave herself, signed it, smiled when she did. Then she fired me. I didn't raise my voice, didn't slam the desk, didn't say her name. I closed my laptop, packed my things, and left. That silence wasn't weakness. It was calibration. I met her 12 years earlier when she was sharp but uncertain, ambitious but still learning how power felt in her hands. We worked in the same department. Different desks, same late nights, shared coffee, shared jokes, shared hunger. She said she admired how steady I was. I said I admired how fearless she was. When she climbed, I supported. When she stumbled, I covered. When the promotion came, I clapped the loudest. When she became my manager, then my wife, then my boss, I believed love would outrun hierarchy. That was my first mistake. Trust doesn't collapse loudly. It erodes. Quiet meetings I wasn't invited to. Decisions made without my input. Her voice changing at home, shorter, sharper. Her phone always face down. Her eyes elsewhere when I spoke. I told myself it was stress. I told myself power weighs heavy. I told myself love adjusts. Then my father died. The call came at 3:12 a.m. Remember the time, because the clock blinked when I dropped the phone. I remember how she didn't wake up until I sat on the edge of the bed and said it out loud. She hugged me briefly. She said, "Take what you need." She approved the leave that morning. 3 days later, she took everything else. The firing wasn't emotional. It was procedural. HRC CCD, legal language, polite distance. She didn't even look at me when I walked past her office. That hurt more than the email. But pain is information if you listen instead of scream. I didn't contest it. Didn't threaten wrongful termination. Didn't mention conflict of interest. I let her think I was broken, grieving, disposable. I wanted her comfortable. At home, I noticed what I had ignored before. The bank statements, the new account, the dinners charged during late meetings, the calendar invites marked private. I found the messages accidentally on purpose. An unlocked tablet, a name saved without a last name, confidence disguised as charm. She hadn't just fired me, she'd replaced me. That's when my mindset shifted. Not to rage, to precision. I made a list, not of feelings, of facts. She had violated company ethics. She had fired a direct report she was married to. She had approved leave and reversed it without cause. She had concealed a personal relationship with a subordinate from the board. And she had underestimated me. I didn't hire a lawyer first. I hired patience. I gathered emails, screenshots, approval logs, HR policy documents, performance reviews she herself had signed praising my work. I backed them up twice, then a third time. I reached out to compliance anonymously, not accusatory, curious, quiet. I asked questions that forced them to look without realizing they were being led. I reconnected with people she'd stepped on during her climb. Not to gossip, to listen. Patterns emerge when you stop interrupting them. Then I waited. A week passed. That's when the call came. The regional manager sounded like a man trying to breathe underwater. He said my name like it was a lifeline. He asked if I had time to talk. I said yes, calmly. He explained there had been concerns. An internal review, questions about process, about ethics, about conflicts. He didn't accuse, he invited. I forwarded one document, then it came apart like a suit. The files, while he was still speaking. There was a long silence. Then a quieter voice said, "Thank you for bringing this to our attention." I didn't correct him. I let him believe it was generosity. The confrontation happened 2 days later. Not at home, not at work. In a glass conference room with no curtains. She sat across from me, composed. Still believed she controlled the room. Still thought this was about grief or forgiveness or silence she could manipulate. She asked why I had done this. I told her the truth. "I didn't," I said. "You did. I just remembered." The board asked questions one by one slowly. Each answer she gave contradicted a document I had already submitted. The color drained from her face when they asked about the relationship. When they asked about the termination email. When they asked why HR had never been informed of our marriage. She looked at me then finally, not with anger, with fear. That was the moment I felt free. She was removed pending investigation. The man she'd been seeing resigned before noon. HR apologized to me in writing. The company offered reinstatement with compensation. I declined, not because I couldn't return, because I didn't need to. The divorce was quiet, efficient. Assets split according to records she had never bothered to hide because she assumed I wouldn't look. I moved out before she asked. The house felt lighter immediately. Now when I think about that email, I don't feel anger. I feel clarity. She taught me something important in those 3 days. Not about loyalty, not about power, about restraint. I didn't win because I was louder. I won because I waited. Justice doesn't always shout. Sometimes it watches. Sometimes it takes notes. Sometimes it lets people hang themselves with their own confidence. My father once told me that grief doesn't make you weak. It makes you honest. It shows you what matters. What mattered to me wasn't revenge. It was balance. She needed people who prioritized their work. I needed a life that prioritized me. In the end, we both got exactly what we asked for.